Lord is my shepherd, I shall not want. He maketh me to lie down in green pastures. He leadeth me beside the still waters. He restoreth my soul. He leadeth me in the paths of righteousness for his name's sake. Yea, though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I will fear no evil, for thou art with me. Thy rod and thy staff, they comfort me. Thou preparest a table before me in the presence of mine enemies. Thou anointest my head with oil, my cup runneth over. Surely goodness and mercy shall continue to follow me all the days of this protracted experience of death, and I will dwell in the house of the most super intelligent, power, source, and force of love and creation forever. What's happening? Benton here, on the road again. Bear with me while the Royal We negotiates a bit of traffic here. One of these men who ain't a man is causing me to have to drive slower than I would like to because, he needs something outside of himself to guide and direct him, and apparently that's me. See? But then he's got all this deep-seated anger that he ain't in touch with, and he's nowadays most of the so-called men is on psych meds and anti-anxieties and all of this. So I guess because his truck can go faster than mine, but he's cruising slower than I'm cruising. But every time I show up to pass him, he speeds up. But then if I slow down, he slows down. So what he doesn't know is that inside of him, he's not allowed to be a man because America's let women take over. This country belongs to the women and the children. Make no mistake, this is a matriarchy. Women are in charge. Men are not in charge. Now, people make the mistake of looking at the top and say, well, that's males in most of those positions. So what? Me and you ain't never going to be in those positions. What's the difference? And, part of feminism was, oh, well, look at the disproportionate representation of males in all of these CEO positions and all of this. But if I apply logic to the situation, if I'm in a corporation climbing a corporate ladder and there's a bunch, it's mostly fellas and there's a chickie poo or two here and there. If I don't win the CEO job, I'm not on team men. I don't share in the victory of the guy who ends up being the CEO because I've got a dick and balls and so does he. But feminism and the rest of society, it plays these dynamics out based on collectivism and also divide and conquer. And make no mistake, America's conquered. That's the only way you could have foreigners coming over here doing whatever they want, see? And, most of us is tolerant. Most of us. And had a bit of an epiphany about this morning, but the last several days I've been going through a thing where, more and more dudes on the road are intentionally holding me back and toying with me. Once they realize that I'm capped at a certain speed, they're on purpose doing it. And I mean over the top obvious. So I can say, well, wait a minute. I wouldn't do this to somebody. What is this that causes somebody to? It's because a woman is his boss and his daughter is his boss. And he might have a female boss at work, right? So he doesn't understand that emotionally something's going on inside of him, and it needs to sort of feel some type of way, right? Like Dick Gregory said, he's trying to get his manhood back, right? But he can't get his manhood back. Not in be subjugated to a woman. And that is, satanic, to bow down to something lesser than oneself. They say, well, you calling men better than women? 100% men are better than women in the way that men are better than women. Meaning what we're good at, we're way better than them. What they're good at, they're way better than us. Now, are there exceptions? Of course there is. There'll never be a woman. There'll never be a biological woman world chess champion, and a biological man will never be the world champion of baby swaddling. See, neither one's possible. That can't happen. Right. All right. Well, I don't know what you're talking about, but yeah. Anyway, that has nothing to do with what I'm talking about. I would time you out, but StreamYard, I would just do a 24-hour timeout, but probably that's somebody's alter ego. So anyway, thanks for playing. See you in about 30 seconds on another name. Right. That's why there's not a live chat most of the time. And in fact, I forgot to turn it off, or I certainly would have. That's why there's no live chat, if anybody's curious. That's a lot of the reason. And so I get to the Loves this morning to try to get fuel. Every single fuel island is taken. Hardly anybody's pulled up. Hardly anybody's getting fuel. Of course, there's nowhere to park on the lot. And meanwhile, I don't give a fuck. People can do whatever they want. I just want to get some fuel. And, out of 12 pumps, how is nobody pulled up to where I can roll in and get my fuel? I'll fucking back out if I need to. What are we doing? All right. So then, of course, as expected, other trucks come in behind me, and they can't just wait their turn. Everybody's got to queue up, which means we just sort of try to figure out, well, who's the most likely to be done first. So, they're forcing my hand, so I just kind of go all the way to the right, and I just basically block 2 lanes. And to me, it looks like I got a decent shot of one of these 2 lanes opening up relatively quickly, within 5-10 minutes. Again, it's all I care about. If I wait 5 minutes to get fuel and then I get fuel and leave, that's completely reasonable. I'm not in some big fat hurry. I guess they left. We went from 2 to 1. But thanks for playing. Not. And so the next thing I know, after I'm forced to sort of queue up, I look over and there's some foreigner inching up. In fact, I think I sort of had to hustle up to even get in front of him, because now he's inching over. And see, here's another thing. The big rigs, we don't want to be let over in traffic. We just want y'all to finish passing. We don't need to be let over. We need y'all to finish passing us. Oh, but that's right. That's MAGA in a pickup truck, which is another way to say a fucking pussy that's got a woman for a boss. Yeah. I said it. That's some pussy in a pickup truck, and his woman runs him. And he can't pass a big rig. See? Because he's scared he might get a ticket going 75 and a 70. Oh no, what's Mommy gonna say if MAGA with a full-size truck in his toolbox off to work in the morning? What if he gets a ticket? Whatever woman he works for at the job is going to be mad at him. Then he's going to get the looks of disapproval. We just need to, can we face the reality? And we can't, because there is no we, but Most men in this country's fucking pussies. Because you can't have a country where historically men dominated certain aspects of society, females dominated certain aspects of society. So now what you see is the aspects of society. That's an important distinction. Because remember, feminism just calls it, oh, it's a patriarchy, it's male dominated society. And stupid people who can't do their own analysis just accept that and say, well, you're right, because there's a bunch of male CEOs. Who cares? What's that got to do with anything? That's neither here nor there. It's just one person with a brain. I put my signal on, they realize, oh, he wants to get over. I'll just keep going 80. Good job. Just keep going 80 to 85. See, there every once in a while, there's just a normal, actual, real human cruises by. Not very often. And see, these ain't even real people anymore. They've fallen to such a low level within themselves. These ain't even people anymore. But the foreigners, they're real people, but what are they in their countries? They're pieces of shit in their country. So their country's a piece of shit. Well, America's a piece of shit, right? So if these people who come here, if they were worth a damn, their home country would want them to stick around. See? Attractive women would show up when they were about to leave town and say, well, you sure you're going to go to America? Because I sure do like seeing you around the village here, and I'd hate to see you go. See how that works? So when I look at a foreigner, whether it's at the truck stop or wherever, now some of them got money, some of them are going to college. That's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about some just working class dude from another country. He's a piece of shit. Because if he was worth it, the fact that he had to come here proves that he ain't worth a damn. If he was worth a damn, his country would have kept him, right? I tell you, they're just doing it on purpose at this point. And it's because they have no power in their daily lives. They have no agency. They have no power. Oh, look, a gigantic vehicle that I can control for 10 seconds. Yeah. But there's no reason. Oh, and I'm seeing like truck drivers that you might consider like stereotypically masculine are behaving in these ways. I had one yesterday, wouldn't let me pass him, but then I slowed down. I just said, fuck it, I'll slow, because I don't care. I'm not in a hurry. I'll go 60. I don't give a fuck. Well, he slowed down because he don't want to lose his plaything, see? He thought he found him something to toy with, and he don't want to lose it, see? I said, okay, I see you're not going to let me pass. I backed off, bided my time. Since I'm way fucking smarter than him, I used the pattern recognition and my ability to look at all the vehicles up ahead. And so first I forced him into, because he wasn't passing anybody. He wouldn't pass nobody. So then there's a car finally going so slow, he had to pass him. So he tipped his hand right there. I said, all right, he's not just riding the right lane no matter what happens. See? And so now I know all I got to do is keep a certain distance to him. And the next time I force him to show his cards, he's either going to have to pass again and expose his game, or I'm going to trap him and get around him. And after that, he tried like hell to catch up to me. He never could. So, because I can go faster through the curves because I'm a better driver than he is. I'm a better driver than the rig. And he might have been Eastern European. If he was worth a damn, he'd have stayed in Eastern Europe. See? And I hate to say it, the fella from Lithuania, that owns and operates this company, if he's worth the shit, now I understand he's intelligent and he's got things going for him, but maybe he just don't have the right connections over there. But why is he here? You telling me nobody's thriving in Lithuania, right? I read about Ireland for years. That's right, party at Benton's. I read about Ireland for years and how fucked the economy was, and uh, you know, train spotting and all these junkies, and cities are bombed out and depleted. And I started reading, it was 20 years ago, I started reading about how the economy of Ireland was making a comeback. They got through that financial crisis and way better than America did. And did you know they now have a higher GDP per capita, gross domestic product per capita, than America does? Can you believe that? Yeah. Ireland kicking America's ass per capita. Motherfucking Ireland. Right. And they're at least somewhat standing up to the immigration, the European style immigration, from what I've seen. It's still going on, apparently. And the reality is, Americans, the American men, they've had their smoke blowed up their ass, but they never been through anything, right? Now, maybe the Great Depression, see, but the Dust Bowl, the Great Depression. What have individually, what has American men's genes been through, right? Well, look at Russia, look at Ukraine, look at what supposedly has happened over there, right? And that's what I told people. I don't even bother to follow this Russia-Ukraine war, because American men only know how to look at through their own stupid, a patriotic American rootin' tootin' strutting around. Oh, y'all don't get it. These motherfuckers have had it so bad and been so starved out, and everybody that's weak has died the fuck off, that you gotta go to Russia and kill about half of those motherfuckers before they even notice anything's happening, folks. Y'all don't know nothing about that. Now, I know a little bit about it only because I'm from an area of the country that's life's a little more cheap than the rest of the country, right? The most historically backwards, uneducated, impoverished, life is cheap, even more. It's basically Appalachia with blacks, right? So Appalachia, but with way more violent crime. Okay. I mean, just go read about that siege of Stalingrad or I never can remember which one, Leningrad, Stalingrad. Read about that motherfucker, what them people went through. And yeah, some of them starved to death, sure. When have motherfuckers starved to death in America? I've said it before, I'll say it again. Protracted starvation and starve about a good 40% of these motherfuckers out. It's the best thing that could possibly happen to the American people. Just get rid of the weak ones. Cull the herd, right? And I'm not calling for this. I'm saying that's why I don't think it's going to happen, right? Is Russia obese, right? Do Russian women, do they let the men take over? Do they want the men to take over? See? So if Russian men try to step aside and say, well, why don't you see what you can do, right? Would they accept that? Or do they understand on some level that this is bad for them? Because wait a minute, here come the Germans, and the sea, they might encircle the city, cut off all the supply lines, and next thing you know, we're on 50 grams a day of, we're on a 100-gram ration per day of bread, and half of it's sawdust. Like, for real. And that's after they evacuated the city, right? And again, it's official fiction. See what I mean? It ain't like that in America. I go in the Walmart Supercenter, women is in charge, and they try to treat me like they're in charge of me. Right? I had strange men that don't know me and don't know who the fuck I am trying to intervene on the behalf of a woman who transgressed upon me. And I turned the other cheek, but then I had something to say about it. The guy tried to tell me he tried to tell me to apologize to her. Right? Okay. Anyway, uh, um, you know, if people don't want to listen, that's fine. Don't listen. In fact, I've said it before. I'll say it again. I'm looking forward to the day where I go live and it goes from 0 and maybe it goes to 1 and then it goes back to 0. And every once in a while, one person cruises by, right? See, well, I talk to myself a lot. I'll answer the last comment that's going to be. I'll answer the last live chat that happened on this live stream. Who the fuck are you talking to? I might be talking to myself. In fact, under the philosophy of solipsism, this might all be a figment of my imagination. I might I might be hallucinating, right? See, this could all be a figment of my imagination, sir. Now, interestingly, we're up to 6 people. Now, part of that is YouTube understands that people like drama and conflict. So, it's going to do what it can to manipulate and, bring more people in if conflict is happening. See? And eventually I'll get off my lazy ass and I'll just permanently disable the comments in the live chat. And then eventually I will talk to 0 people. But here's the thing, buddy. I am one, partner. I am one, meaning I can't ever talk to nobody. I am someone. I am someone. Therefore, if I'm talking, it's not possible to talk to nobody. See? Don't you get it? And this is what I mean about American men. Pussies, trod upon, right? So anyway, back to the example from the fuel island. Now, some foreigner, right? Now we all have to say, oh, I don't care where they're from, blah blah blah. Yeah, that's fine, but most of us are pretty tolerant. Do we really need to keep saying it? So I guess he slept. I guess he took his brake, parked up on the curb. So now he's decided it's time for him to get fuel. Well, what's he going to do? He's going to go to the fuel island and he's just going to stay there as long as he wants, right? He's going to, because I talked to him after he parked his truck. Now, maybe he fueled, because a lot of people there is no line. It's just you have to, you just got to pick 1 or 2 of the 12 lanes and just whatever happens, happens. So probably 3 of the people who came up behind me got fuel before I did. But again, I don't give a fuck. Lord knows the guy in the lane next to me, he was in the store fucking around, wasting time. I don't care. By the time he came out, I'm already getting fuel. Why am I going to? This ain't bonehead truckers where I'm going to try to make social media content, sort of delivering people's serving them their comeuppance. I don't give a shit. As long as I can get in and get what I need, it's every man for his goddamn self. Dog eat dog world. I don't give a shit. Do whatever you want. If Americans want to let people come from foreign shithole lands to clog up the fuel island. I don't give a fuck as long as I can get my fuel, right? Who cares? So he's looking over at me like, and he's, you know what he's doing? And again, this is the realm will never not treat me like the realm will always treat me like I'm guilty of something. See, and it does that so that I would treat my blessing as if it were a curse. It's a strategy. See, so he's motioning because what I did was I figured, okay, he's gonna start his day and he's just gonna drive through. There's a single lane all the way to the right, but you can't get fuel over there. He's gonna drive through there and exit the truck stop. Oh no, he thinks he's gonna inch up there and get fuel. And if I'll let him in front of me, so I've physically blocked 2 lanes. I got the lane to my left blocked with my trailer, and I got the lane to my right blocked with my tractor. And whichever one is out of my way first, that's where I'm going to get fuel. So now he's motioning like, hey, buddy, what are you doing? I just look at him like, what are you talking about? Now, I guess hypothetically, maybe he thinks he's in line because he parked there all night, but that ain't going to wash. So he's looking at me like I'm a problem. You know, whatever Middle Eastern shithole he's from. I'm from the shithole called America. I'm from this shithole, sir. And the fact is, now nobody told me this, but I figured out by the time I was in my 30s, I could go to Germany and go to college for free in motherfucking in England. They just want me to pretend to try to learn German. My research into you think I can't go to another country? Why don't I go to another country? Because I'm from this shithole country and I got a set of balls and I got testosterone and the women follow me around the goddamn super center. They started crawling all over me by the time I was 12 years old or 13, whenever the balls dropped. And, on some level, people want me around this bitch. Why would I leave? I'm from here. And wouldn't that prove on some level if I left it that I ain't worth a damn? Right? So he's looking at me like I've done something, so I just flip him the bird. Now and this is where he's demon infested. So now he thinks it's funny and wants to go shaking his head like, oh, no thanks. Right? Like I'm offering to have sex with him. I've made that joke myself, so fair enough at times. But he keeps wanting to just look at me, and I'm looking at him like, what do you want, bro? So he motions at me, I motion at him like, hey, just go on through, man. And so eventually, something opens up and he crawls over to the left and gets in line over there. And so I'm getting fuel, and of course now I see him and I say, hey man. You know how I know you ain't worth a damn? I said, cause you're here. I said, if you was worth a shit, you would have stayed in whatever shithole you're from. The fact that you came to my shithole country or this shithole country, that proves you ain't worth a damn. Because if you was worth a damn, they'd have kept you wherever you're from. And, he thought now he wants to walk over and he thinks now we're having a good time because I guess this is his idea. And then they can always try to portray it like I'm angry and I got a problem. It's like, well, I don't know, man. Hook me up to the blood pressure machine and let's take my resting heart rate. I could pass a DOT physical right motherfucking now. If y'all think I'm angry, some of us are just aggressive and intense by nature and got testosterone coming out of our ears. And we weren't socialized I was socialized to be every bit as masculine as I can be. I wasn't socialized with feminism and taught that my own masculine expression is oppressive to women. And this is what MAGA and so-called conservatives can't ever figure out is their children are feminists, whether they want to be or not, whether they act on feminism or not. Your boys are raised in a school district anywhere in America with only a few exceptions. Maybe where? In some swamp in Louisiana, right? Maybe somewhere in Arkansas, right? See, I wasn't ever raised I never had a teacher shame me as a little boy for being rowdy and rough and, my own masculine expression is oppressive to women. I hope y'all understand this is how the boys are raised now. See? And so now I watch these court proceedings and you've got some probably otherwise high testosterone, aggressive criminal, 20-something male, and you can't even hardly hear them. They talk so quiet. And here's something else I noticed in the interrogation videos. Most of these young blacks, they reflexively, when they're with authority, they reflexively say, yes, ma'am. But they mumble, so they go, yeah, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. There's no male authority figures in their life anywhere. Maybe if they played sports. Maybe. Right. So the male and the dominant masculine force has been removed from society. But meanwhile, why is the masculinity only toxic when it's got a dick and balls? How come it's not toxic when it's a big, tough lesbian? And I've asked that question a bazillion times. Nobody's ever answered it. Nobody's ever even attempted to answer it. Now, some people have tried to ask me questions. I say, no, answer the question. How come it's not toxic masculinity when it's a big, tough lesbian? And I've asked this to lefty bozos. I've asked this to conservatives. I've asked this to people in the streets of Seattle. I don't give a fuck. Because I got balls, I got testosterone, and I was socialized in a particular way. Meanwhile, if I start talking about having balls, most males will just start making idiocracy style jokes. Oh, he said balls. Like for real. And start making fun of me for talking about balls. I'm not joking. And I'm not even saying what I grew up in was a proper society, because certainly it couldn't have been, because proper society would never be capable of degenerating into whatever hell, whatever hell this is, right? I don't know, buddy. You going to be able to pass me? You're going to have to go faster than 68 if you think you're going to pass me. Well, what speed are you planning on going? What's your cruising speed, sir? Can we determine that? I'm not like the other people. I'll let you. You can pass me all you want, but why? How slow do I have to go to facilitate this? But anyway. And, then he wants to get into whatever his talking points are. Meanwhile, he barely speaks fucking English. So, number one, he acts like he owns the whole country. Number two, barely speaks the language. Right now, he certainly understands what I'm saying. It just thinks it's funny. Thinks it's funny. See? And meanwhile, how can I ever be wrong by just refusing to let him take over and act like he owns the whole country, right? And then, hey, man, and he's trying to cut in line, right? Man to man. That's one man trying to punk another man, see? And here's his experience of America. He comes to America, and what does he see? Oh, American men let women run the show. Whatever shithole he's coming from, they don't let women run the show. So they're better than us collectively. See, this is why I can't be on Team MAGA. I can't be on Team, God forbid, Team Lefty. I can't be on a team with any of you. Because most of you let women run the show. Most of you, fellas, most of you let women run the show. Now, for the commenter that thought he could get my goat by making fun of the lack of viewers, well, who the hell's going to stick around and listen to this? Now, when it was daily live streams and we were hitting over 60 concurrent viewers every stream, do you know what proportion of the audience was female? 40 motherfucking percent, and it was trending towards 50. The trend was up, right? Trending upwards. It was going to hit parity. We were going to hit 50-50. See? So maybe whoever was coming at me in the comments, maybe they do live streams to more than 4 people or 3 people. Maybe they have 100 people. I guarantee you they don't have a 60-40 split male to female. I guarantee you they don't. See? Believe that. Meanwhile, who cares? Who cares? But everything he tried to say to me, I just said, man, if you was worth a damn, they would have wanted to keep you where you're from, and they would have properly incentivized you to remain there. The fact that you're here proves that you ain't worth the shit. And the reality is, and I'm not talking about Mexicans. I'm not even really talking about Central Americans. I'm more so talking Eastern Europeans and Middle Easterners. Now, other continents, this is North America, even Central America. Well, that's still America, right? So like it or not, Mexico is America. It's just what it is. And, see, I'm not even a proponent necessarily of a male-dominated society in the way that other societies are still male-dominated, and in the ways that America used to arguably be male-dominated. But again, it's only in certain arenas, right? It's not across the board. Meanwhile, women are still women. Y'all notice that? They haven't given up being women. It's now they're women plus they're like half a man. See? And most males ain't a man at all. Right? Now, that should be shameful, but they don't have shame. It's a post-shame society. Right? Post-shame society. And so this foreigner laughing and smiling and thinking it's funny, well, it is funny to him because he knows in the back of his mind, hey, joke's on you, buddy. You are from a country that is so bitch made it let women take over. Hey, and if he said that, if he had the mentality or the ability to first conceptualize something like that and to then verbalize it in English, I'd agree with him. I'd say you're absolutely right, sir. Fair enough. I can't argue with you there. Meanwhile, I'm just me. I can't do nothing about that. But I know this. I don't care how bad it gets here. I don't care if I'm on the siege of fucking Stalingrad, 100-gram ration of bread a day and half of it's sawdust. I'm staying here, motherfuckers. I kind of hope everybody gets starved out. Now, not because I want people to suffer, but it serve them right in a lot of ways. But I don't have vendettas or I'm not seeking, any form of revenge on the people, but you know, part of me taking it to the streets for so long, part of me taking it to the streets for so long is, you know, to avoid being too comfortable. So comfort seeking is a mistake. And what does your average male do these days? They're in a comfortable house, they're in a comfortable apartment, and they're slaving away for corporations, and while allowing women to dominate not the top of society, the middle strata of society. Now, somewhat paradoxically, perhaps, male women do not dominate the low classes. Isn't that interesting? Now they do in certain ways, right? Yeah, women can dominate the environment at the Walmart Supercenter, sure, but you know they can't dominate. You know, especially the more underworld criminal. You know, um, there's always going to be this stereotypically hyper masculine, type of dudes. I don't think that's ever going to completely go away. Um, human genetics will probably always have a way of sort of crossing through and defeating whatever, atrazine and, fucking microplastics, BPA, and just the war on testosterone, right? It's just there's less and less men with testosterone. So again, when I'm in the Walmart and women are staring me right in my fucking face, following me around the store, hoping I'll talk to them, it's not anything to do with me. And I know because I used to be me and wander around, and every once in a while, one woman would start giving me these signals that she wanted me to talk to her. So I could go to Walmart 10 times, and maybe 1 out of 10 times. But then when I really was into the pickup artist stuff and the so-called peacocking and all of this, just being overtly more of what I already am, very cocky and funny to some extent. Right. David D'Angelo, double your dating, cocky and funny. Right. Comes naturally to me in some ways, but now it's almost every time I go in there. See, well, why is that? Because in the olden days, the not too distant olden days, ladies, they did sort of have preferences. They did sort of have a type. So, oh, well, there's Benton, that's a man, but that's not, they don't like the cut of my jib today. Okay. And some of it is just wherever they're at in their cycle, where are they at in their personal life? What time of year is it? Right. Well, now the desperation is off the charts. So it's almost like, there's one, get him. I swear to God, sometimes I go in the store and it's so immediate. It's like, there's one, get him. This has happened to me multiple times, right? It happened to me once in Echo Lake Park. It happened to me at least twice in a Walmart Supercenter where as soon as I enter into the environment, a toddler, their head whips around directly at me and they just start running at me. There's daddy. Now, if they had a daddy, see what I mean? They don't have a daddy. They want and need a daddy. And if you've ever seen this idea that, some small child, they think it got abducted, but it turned out it just disappeared because it wandered off. They've had 2-year-old and 3-year-old boys cover unfathomable distances on foot. There's numerous accounts of this. And the locals are like, wow, thank God they were found alive, but we didn't even think to search that far out. We didn't think that was possible. I don't know, man. Have you never seen a fucking 2-year-old take off at top motherfucking speed? They can haul ass. Here comes mama right behind. Like, for real. This is America, folks. The father's already gone extinct, and people are so behind, they want to talk about and lament, oh, things are getting bad. It's the feminists don't want the father. There ain't no father in the home. And if there's a air quotes father in the home, he's so fucking uh, henpecked, and he's so lacking in dominant masculine characteristics. She wears the pants. So why wouldn't foreigners come here and just assume they can throw their weight around? Because 9 out of 10 times he's just playing the odds. I can't be mad at him because he knows 9 times out of 10, whatever white guy is sitting in the truck is just going to say, "Be my guest. Just have it. Just take everything. Be my guest, sir. We've already let the women take over. You might as well go ahead and go ahead of me too." Why not? Why the fuck not? Now, I will say this. If it wasn't a big old hurry and it wasn't a clusterfuck, and if I wasn't trying to make a little bit of time, if I knew I could just go back to the left and a spot was open, I don't give a fuck. I'll happily move out of his way to facilitate whatever he's trying to do. Because I don't have no animosity. I don't have no chip on my shoulder in that way. I don't have no beef. Right? Go for it. I don't give a fuck. But now when it's a him versus me situation, the men from his country that can go toe to toe with me, mano y mano, they're still in that country. None of them have been sent over here that can go toe to toe with Benton mano y mano. Not a one. Not one. And so you can't have a country and then the corporations and the government and the banks and the so-called elites import all this labor, doing my job. And I don't mean like ownership, just doing the same job I do. Right. Without the males just allowing it. Right. And, I understand that what's being promoted in the media and on the internet. And yeah, I'm seeing way less foreigners, but they're still driving the trucks and they're still putting fuel in the truck. I just don't see them fucking willy nilly, living large anymore. Right. They've gone back to just, their roots of just putting their nose, because in their country, that's a big part of what I did. That's how they're a man in a lot of countries. It's worker, provider, protector. And so if they were any good as a worker, a protector, and a provider, why are they here? Now you can say till you're blue in the face, oh, the economics are bad and this is bad, that's bad. So you're telling me nobody makes it where this guy's from? No, just nobody ever makes it over there. It's impossible. I don't believe you. No. So however many males he grew up with, how many of them made it and how many of them sought their fortunes elsewhere? Seriously, how many? Because I would argue, at least I can make a case for the guy who owns and operates his trucking company, because he might realize, hey, I can stay in Lithuania and I can have a wife and I can have a house and all of these things. But he probably understands on some level it's what he can achieve is probably capped fairly low, right? Probably because he just doesn't have the connections. If he had connections, then yeah, it would be probably possible to rise to some higher level. But he knows if he's willing to involve himself in a lot of risk, roll the dice, go to America, choose a business, right? Go into business and work hard, do more for less, which is the American dream. And he's clearly very intelligent, right? And I respect, intellectual intelligence, almost above all, in a lot of ways. And so at least that's justifiable. Some guy who's left wherever he's from to come to America and do one of the least desirable jobs, it says a lot about him and what he's got going on and what his life would be like had he chosen to stay where he's from. Because Chad from the Middle East ain't coming here. Chad with the family connections ain't coming here. It's not a thing. Why would they? When they got submissive, right? Submissive, somewhat attractive women in their country. Because a man that's worth a damn in his home country can always find, if he wants one, a submissive, attractive woman. At least one he finds attractive. Right? Always. So who would leave that? Life's got to be pretty shitty otherwise, right? Anyway, bathroom break. So I'm pretty sure as an American, if I went to his country and I just started living there and doing, just working and earning the local money and, eating the local food, I'm pretty sure the locals would have some comprehension of what at least they think America's like, and they would then draw inferences about what I must be worth as a worker and as a man, because otherwise, why didn't I just stay in the country of my birth? See, that says a lot, especially somebody who goes to a different continent to do a low-level job in a a shithole country. Yeah, it has. There's affluence, right? And it's a high standard of living in a way. Although, do these third world countries, so-called, have all these psychological problems that your average American more or less just has psychological problems? Just, that's just sort of standard. Show me an American and I'll show you psychological problems. All right. That's pretty much where society is at this point, as far as I can tell. Show me an American, I'll show you psychological problems. And, people can try to gaslight and point the finger at me all they want. I've refused to internalize that. You can say whatever you want about me. I know exactly who I am and what I am. Right. And before I ever did live streams on YouTube, I talked 50 hours driving a truck. I talked 50 hours into a digital audio recorder, which was the limit of the recordings on the memory card. And I thought, I wonder if I'm going to do anything with any of this recorded material. And I thought, no, I formatted the card and I talked for another 50 hours. And it never got heard anywhere. It never got live streamed. So you think I give a fuck about talking on a YouTube channel where at least some people will, even if it's one person listening live, even if it's nobody listening live, there are people who apparently listen to the replays. As insane as that might sound, right? Apparently that's a thing. So meanwhile, that's a community service. This is a service I'm offering to the community. You're welcome. And hate, and I almost never use the term hater. But people want to come into my live chat and hate. Well, thank you for reminding me, and thank you for showing people exactly why there's not going to be a live chat. And it's probably, look, I can't say for sure until I actually get off my ass and permanently disable it, or not permanently, but until I can get off my ass and disable it. But, most likely in the short run, I'll forget some of the time to turn it off. And then as soon as bozos start, basically I should just leave it on. And then the moment I see somebody spiritually attacking me in the comments, I'll just go turn it off manually. That's probably the way to play it. Right. I mean, why not? Because I don't give a fuck. Time for blueberries. Delicious. Magically delicious. And nobody wants to live in a truck and do long haul trucking and not have a life. So, I'll never be fired for political incorrectness. That's never going to happen. A lot of males have to watch what they say at their job. I don't. My first dispatcher, I said, "Hey, ma'am, you're bullshitting me." I said, "You're a bullshit artist." She told him that to his face on the phone. "What do you mean I am bullshitting?" I said, "Man, you're bullshitting me. Don't try to act like you don't know what you're doing. You're fucking bullshitting me." But most of these males think, they fear the repercussions, right? So whatever they're getting out of their paycheck and their current lifestyle, that's more important to them than their own dignity. See? More important than their own dignity. But I can see it in that foreigner. I'm sure he's gotten into. There's no way he hadn't gotten into it with other truckers, and you can tell he's used to just getting them wound up, and then he can just laugh and think it's funny, and then they just get madder and madder. I probably seem angry. It's like, man, no, some of us just got it like that. Anybody got one of them blood pressure cuffs? I probably got the lowest blood pressure out here. Y'all think I'm worked up? Oh yeah, we got a backup. Did we crash? Somebody might have crashed. Actually, I think they're probably just backed up trying to take the exit. Might be a wreck. Actually, I didn't come this way. before. I don't know. I don't know what's going on. These dum-dums probably crashed. Yeah, come to a complete stop. That's intelligent. It's kind of on me though. Usually I leave enough space. So a lot of times I save it when the traffic in front of me stops. Because remember, if you you get into a gridlock on the interstate, if one car in the lane stops, every motherfucker behind them stops. Unless somebody can save it. So that's happened once, but let's see. Some guy actually did a study on this and was able to prove what I'm talking about. But yeah, it might just be the one lane traffic up ahead. Well, I'm out of grapes. I haven't made it to Walmart. I could have gone yesterday evening, but I wasn't into it. I just see a little bit of ice on the road there. Patchy, spotty. I don't know if that's got anything to do with it. Yes, fuck. But like I like to tell people is something else the spiritual attacker. Meanwhile, no weapon form shall prosper. Oh, let's go ahead and well, I don't want to pray out of spite. And don't think me praying to Jesus or invoking the power and meaning in the name of the Lord Christ Jesus more correctly. Who I trust? Who I trust? Me. Who you trust, man? Worshipper and object of worship contained within the same space. The resurrection of the risen, ascended Christ within. Yeah, this is fucked. So yesterday, I'm delivering it. Supposed to deliver at 9 a.m. this morning in Ohio. So I delivered yesterday morning. Oh, I didn't even tell that story yet. I made a YouTube short talking about this, but I don't know if anybody watches those. They get views, but I mean, who the hell even knows?
if somebody scrolls right past it, I think it still counts as a view. So anyway, um, that's neither here nor there. But so I go to deliver this load yesterday, and of course I got there, as early as I could justify. It's in New Jersey. It's damn near. It's just outside of New York City. And so I get there, and there's really nowhere for me to be in the rig without being in somebody's way. And I don't like to be in people's way, but so at a certain point, and I don't know, what time can I talk to somebody in the building and this and that. And so I managed to, it's like, talk through the intercom, but you never know is it press and hold? I mean, you just don't know. Do you press the button and then it calls somebody and they start talking? It's just never really made clear. There's a button that claims to ring a bell, but unless you can hear the bell ringing, does that do anything? No idea. So eventually somebody lets me in, and this black fella, maybe around my age, could be older, works there. I don't know what he does. Some kind of food plant or warehouse, groceries, but not. It's not the style of what I usually go to. It's not one of these big, gigantic, deep distribution centers. It's a smaller outfit. And so when this operation was built, it wasn't designed for, the modern style of rigs. But anyway, and so, I communicate with him enough to, he basically tells me what the deal is, which is, at some point after 7 a.m., a yard jockey in a yard truck is going to, he pointed out which trailer. It's going to remove that trailer from that dock door. And then when you see that happen, break the seal, open the doors, leave your bills of lading in the trailer and, back in, right? Unload you. And so I can't, the only place I can park and not be too much in everybody's way, I can't see that trailer, right? So every once in a while, I need to get over and go and wander over there and see what's going on. And it's funny how the realm spiritually attacks, right? Because meanwhile, they know I'm there, right? Somebody could come knock on my truck, and if they think that I don't know what to do, if they think I haven't checked in yet. So, and meanwhile, there's cars driving in and out of there the whole time. People in passenger vehicles going to the other side of the building. Apparently, there's completely separate facilities, more or less on the same property. It's a steady flow of traffic in and out of there first thing in the morning. So I'm walking, and I get a guy stops his car. I hear the disembodied voice out of nowhere. I just keep it moving, right? And one of my pet peeves, I hate when a stranger that I've never seen before and I've not given my attention to seizes control of me. And by the way, another foreigner. Now, at least he was, probably Central American, maybe South American, not Central American. And in my mind, it's like, are his legs broken? He's free to get out and come talk to me, right? Same way he was free to, if he's so concerned about, because it's always this idea of, I'm going to help you, right? Well, or you have a personality, or he has a personality disorder, and these people with certain personality disorders, they love to find somebody who's at a deficit. And I'm at a deficit just with my being unfamiliar with the shippers and the receivers, because most of these places I've never been to and I'm never going to go back. So there's really no point in even, just basically tell me what to do and I'll do it. But somebody's already told me what to do. Right. Now, what's not going to happen is random people are not going to seize control of me. Now, if he says, if he gets my attention, is like, hey man, I'm in the shipping department, and it's lucky I happen to drive by right now, and if you'd like, I can tell you the procedure, right? Instead of just yo, hey, right? So I can walk over to him. No, man, we ain't doing that. And so I walk all the way over to where that trailer, of course, hasn't been moved, and he drives over there and pretty much forces me to talk to him. And so I don't even hear it. I'm basically like, who are you? I mean, that's pretty much what I do with people now. Is I'm like, who are you? Of course, he doesn't. Now he wants to launch into his old, and I just cut him off and I say, hey man, and I tell him everything I did. I went in that building. Somebody that works here let me in. Here's what they told me to do. Right. Um, you know, and meanwhile, I said, meanwhile, I don't know who you are. Right. So it's like, for all I know, you're just some random person driving by, getting us jolly. And I didn't say that part, but it's true. Do you think random people don't just do weird shit from time to time because they think it's funny? Of course they do. When I was young enough, because I'd worked at a super center and knew the fucking code to pick up a phone, an unattended phone in the store and say shit over the intercom, that doesn't mean I worked there. Right. He's not in a uniform. But meanwhile, the black fella that helped me earlier, now maybe he could be mistaken. Maybe he's just got incorrect information, but I would bet money that he actually works there. I mean, I don't think he's, impersonating a worker. He was inside the building when I found him. Right. So I'm gonna go with what he's told me to do. And so I explained the whole thing, and I'm basically like, all right, man, more or less, here's your chance. Because before we could even get to that, he was like, well, sir, he's like, I'm telling you. And I said, yeah, I'm telling you. Yeah, you're telling me, and I'm telling you. I mean, and I said, we can have a conversation. We can have a back and forth. And in a back and forth, you tell me and I tell you. Because when somebody says, oh, well, I'm just telling you, that sort of means, I'm in control. You're going to listen to me. Right. And I'm going to tell you what's what. Yeah, pretty decent wreck. Somebody most likely on their phone manages to rear end a stopped vehicle on the shoulder. At the worst possible place to cause the biggest possible backup. But so in his mind, and remember, he psychologically he can't ever be at fault. So there's got to be something wrong with me, and especially as a white guy in New Jersey. I'm pretty sure I didn't see any other white people, and I don't give a fuck. I'm from a place where it was not at all unusual to be the only white person around, and happened regularly, in fact. Now everybody's forgotten to drive because we were in bumper to bumper traffic for too long. Oh, and we saw a bad wreck. So everybody's got to pretend like they're going to drive safe, but then they're going to drive slow and sort of timidly and hesitantly for about 5 minutes, and then go right back to however they normally drive. So we're still in that space of we sort of need to pretend like we're cautious, attentive drivers instead of what people are, which is distracted and almost entirely lacking in driving skill altogether.
It's time for some apricots and some pears. Yeah, buddy. Good stuff. And I don't know who the guy is. No idea. So I guess maybe he was. I don't know where he. I don't know who the guy was. What he did. So once he realized that, oh, this guy did manage. Because I'm quite resourceful. I'm doing my job right, and I managed to use my soft skills with a little bit of luck to find out where I'm supposed to be and what I'm supposed to be doing. Where he's like, oh, well, sounds like you know, some version of it. It sounds like you got it under control type shit. I'm like, yeah, I do. And almost like this is a foreigner, but he's the authority. See, he's gonna, in his mind, he's in charge. It's like now he wants to tell me like, well, handle your business. I said, yeah, that's what I'm doing. I'm handling my business. And I could have been like, that's exactly what I did that's what I was doing when I ignored your ass when you rolled your window down and started talking at the back of my head. And I've been doing that. I've been handling my business all morning. And I don't really see what it's got to do with you, but I didn't say that. And I guess the word got out. And I don't know that it took them any longer than normal to unload me, but it took a while. And then I ended up, the shipping manager signed my paperwork. And I could tell based on the attitude of a lot of the workers that I interacted with that, they got the word about this uppity white truck driver, right? Well, why would I be anything other than what I am to suit them? Why? For what? If they got a problem, they'll fucking deal with it. Not my problem. Meanwhile, I'm probably never coming here again. So pretty please with sugar on top, unload my fucking trailer, sign my paperwork so I can leave. A smart car snuck up into my blind spot. Can't make this up. Right beside my tractor. Well, they're trying to call that injured lawyer. Yes, sir. It'd solve a lot of their problems, wouldn't it? Get them a cool 80 Gs from the insurance company. Get them an 80 G payout. Yeah, buddy. Be all right with them. See, I don't know. I don't ever want to be a cop, but sometimes I fantasize about it because I wouldn't write people for speed and they'd get a ticket. Hey, you can't just ride right beside a big rig in the blind spot on purpose. That's crazy. What are you doing? The blacks give me attitude anyway, but It doesn't. I don't care. It doesn't really bother me. They don't know anything about. If they knew anything about the culture where I'm from, I think they'd have a little different attitude. So I don't know. I've never taken any of that personally. There's a lot of racist blacks in the Northeast. Am I in a lane? I can't tell if I'm in a lane or what. See, in some of these, I don't know if this is where I'm at or not, but there's one of these places where, because of construction, it goes to one lane, and you have to be in that one lane, or you can't stay on the road I'm on. I'm trying to remember if this is that place, and am I in the correct lane or not. So bear with me. I got to try to read these signs up here. GPS ain't telling me anything yet. Yeah, I think this is it. I was already in it. Wait, no, that's not it. No, this is not the lane. Okay. So see, we already got to get over, and we can't. Ain't nobody gonna let us over. That ain't finna happen. Maybe. Maybe. Yeah, amazing. Amazing. Thank you. And it might be in the other direction. So I don't know. Hard to tell. Hard to remember. I don't even know where am I at? One of them Ohio shitholes. One of them. Youngstown? Not Youngstown. Well, I'm curious. I'm going to take a look and see if I can figure it out. No, Columbus. Huh. That's interesting. Why are we going right through Columbus? Huh. Because there's a bypass around Columbus. I'm surprised the GPS didn't take me onto the bypass. Hmm. I think maybe I chose the alternate route. This is strange. Yeah, usually I don't get routed through right through the middle of Columbus. It's like maybe there's a wreck on the other side. Fender bender. I don't know. There's a cop. Looks like maybe is that a cop or is it just a? No, it's a Charger. So they spun out. Anyway, yeah, this is where I suffer because I just sometimes I should double check the route and I don't. But then sometimes it's like you don't really know which way to go, and I could have taken the bypass and it could have been worse or just as bad. I'd be thinking, well, shit, it's probably clear the other way. And in an information age, how come all the systems don't talk to each other and say, well, based on the average amount of time, in the last month on this day and this time of the morning, this one route is better than the other route. Why doesn't the technology know all of this and share it with me? Damn it! It could, as much as people will say, "Oh, well, that's because of this, that, and the third." It's like, no, it could work that way. It just doesn't. It's doable. It's doable.
Yeah, if anybody's curious why there's no live chat, part of it is I forgot to disable it, and then immediately somebody kept coming back with multiple screen names um, being derogatory, so I turned it off. Spiritually attacking in my comments in my live chat. Demons in the chat. He definitely got some attitude from some of the people that work there. But the person grew up where I grew up. That's just normal. But again, it's the realm. And I'm dependent on you know the largesse of the just motorists passing by, right, to assist me. Damn, lost signal, but we're back. Guess it's time for watermelon. I think at this point, I'm not even going to say it's been long enough on the PM, and if it ever finally comes up and it turns out being 30,000 miles later than it's supposed to be, I'm just going to say, hey man, that's your job. I'm not the maintenance department. You could at least pick up the phone and say, hey, it's time for a PM. Why don't you take it wherever? And I'd have done it. But
course, part of that is the owner of the company would have to be the maintenance department, and then either he would have to work it out with the dispatchers, or he's gonna have to put some of his time into facilitating it. Because if they keep planning me out the way they're planning me, there's no time for me to just of my own volition go and get an oil change. When? Oh, on my time? Oh, that's interesting. I don't remember agreeing to do that. If I end up working 24 hours a day, then $257 a day doesn't sound so good. Meanwhile, some days I wait 3 hours to get my next load assignment. Hey, there's a time we could have got the oil change, except I have no idea that it's going to be 3 hours. So, what do you want me to do? And I reserved my parking last night and paid, electronically. And got there, and there was a few spots near the entrance slash exit. Some of these lots are in such bad. This is Flying J or Pilot, or no, it's a TA. Some of these lots are in such bad shape. I don't know if I parked in the reserve or not. I saw a spot and fucking parked in it. I have no idea. Hell, I think they should make all of them, make all the spots pay. And some of them are that way, but then you couldn't have bozos parking, inventing their own parking spots all over the line. You know? There's UPS, big old UPS. Hmm. I'm starting to realize all this tariffs. Some of that is it's got to be tied in with this notion of stakeholder capitalism, and then all this talk about, which has been misconstrued into the powers that be crashing the economy on purpose. But it's actually an acknowledgement of the economic cycles, and to more directly manage the contraction phase. And with all these layoffs, you see the UPS, the Postal Service, and all of this laying people off. Which the Postal Service is probably mostly contractors, but either way, they got a union, don't they? Does mail carriers have a union?
I'm gonna Google that real quick. Is USPS union? No. Oh yeah, well, it just didn't. The AI didn't understand what I was asking. Yeah, it's the largest unionized employer in the United States. So they don't get laid off, but the contractors get laid off. Hmm. Nearly all its career employees represented by one of several powerful postal unions that negotiate wages, benefits, and working conditions through collective bargaining, which Americans hate that idea for some reason. So why is the fucking post office? Why is it that union? But almost everybody, when they think union, it's a bad connotation. So 91% of USPS employees belong to a union. Here's a foreigner, I think, in a big truck. Of course, he's racing me. He's going 55 now. He's trying to race me, but he let me over. Collective bargaining. These unions negotiate contracts with the USPS covering wages, hours, and working conditions with agreements often lasting several years. So yesterday when they sent me to pick up the load after I made that delivery, they sent me to a place where it's some old, outdated facility, and it's just not enough room for somebody with my level of backing skill to negotiate. I mean, just call it what it is. Not within a reasonable amount of time. So between the amount of time I had to wait for all the other trucks to get out of my way, meanwhile, it was like a facility that was the one building, but it was three different companies. So one company was real busy, and it had so many trucks that they were blocking everything. But then, I had to wait for all of them to get out of the way. And I was the only one picking up or delivering at the place I went to. But it was a solid hour from the time I got there to the time I backed into the dock. And, it's like, hey, well, if truckers had a union, I guarantee you that this facility would have a yard truck and there'd be a designated area, and you'd drop your trailer, and then they would put the trailer in the door. But that costs money. And when you've got truckers who don't know how to say no to anything, who will just do it, right? Because the rigs just get bigger and bigger and bigger, because now in some areas, they're up to 57 foot. So at a certain point, eventually it's just like, yeah, you can't, if the standard becomes 57, maybe somebody can
put that in the hole, get that to the dock. You know, if I had to lose 4 more feet, there's no fucking way. It would probably be possible, but you would have to get it. You have to make every little movement perfectly. Right. It's like I'm figuring this shit out on the fly, man. But see, if there was a union, the union would be like, "No, we ain't doing that. You're crazy." See that people talk about all they want to talk about is the corruption and this and that. What about the things they actually do for the worker? Like, hey, we're not doing what you're asking us, corporation or warehouse or business. We say no, we're not going to do that. Or even something as simple as, oh, you think we're going to back in off the road? Yeah, we are, but y'all are going to have 3 fucking safety monitors out there stopping traffic. Every truck that rolls in and out of here, you're going to go out there and direct traffic. And if it ain't safe, if it's not safe, we're going to start over and wait till it's safe. Right? See, that corporations can't make a never-ending series of record profits. Not without the worker has to take it up the ass for corporations to make a never-ending series of record profits. That's not possible without the workers taking it right up the rear end. And you watch truckers; they're happy to just take it right up the rear end. Now, I did it, but I raised hell. Not that that's going to do anything, but I raised hell with my employer on the phone, and fair enough. He actually called the place and sort of was like, "Hey, our driver's there, and we can't get to your dock, and blah 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 blah." But then every time I talk to the guy at the place, Jose, in some ways, well, this is what the other trucks do. I'm like, yeah, man, that has nothing to do with what I do. I said, you know what? I said, I get on that interstate, and them's the same guys that I see rolled over in the ditch. You know who I am? I'm the one who never rolls over in the ditch. So I don't know how to roll over in the ditch, but I also can't just expertly blindside back into this bullshit dock. So I don't want to be told what the other drivers do, because when they roll over on the interstate, never say, well, Benton just went right by. What's wrong with you? See, we saw Benton just drove right past the whole thing, and you rolled over in the ditch looking dumb. See, that never happens. See? Oh, well, we just chalked that up to an accident. Yeah, a preventable accident. You got people drive 30 miles and never have one single incident. Now, part of that's luck, sure. But part of that is I can't drive drowsy. See, because if I drive drowsy, I might be one of the ones rolled over on the interstates. That means if I'm drowsy, I have to pull over and take a nap, whether I want to or not. Whether the company is like, hey, man, why did you stop for 45 minutes? Well, I took a nap. Well, why'd you take a nap? It's like, what do you mean, why did I take a nap? What are you talking about? But if there was a union, hey, man, talk to the union. I don't know what to tell you. And then also, if there was unions for truckers, you wouldn't be able to have this crazy just-in-time, all this compression of the loads, right? Where, I'm scrambling to try to make this delivery. Shit, did I take the wrong? I might have missed my exit. No, we're still on the route, thankfully. If I wasn't able to make time up during this, I was technically late when I picked the fucking load up. Like, well, if it, takes the amount of time the GPS says it's going to take, we're already late. Because And who knows if the dispatcher's telling me the truth, but he's like, yeah, the broker charges a $350 fee if we're late. Well, I don't know if that's true or not. But what the hell, what do you want me to do about it? Because I'm already, again, did you talk to the criminal? I understand there's truckers who don't necessarily give a fuck about picking up and delivering on time. You know, I bust my ass to pick up and deliver on time. Like, what are you talking about? It's just what I do. And, they want to, and I don't know who came up with this, but they always want to be like, well, you're the driver. I've been told that several times. I said, that's what I told him about this doc I was bitching about. I said, well, if I'm the driver says no, then how about that? How about if that's the answer to everything is, well, you're the driver, meaning, you do your job and it's your job to figure it out. Like, yeah, if that's the case, then this driver ain't doing it. You see, they're trying to have it both ways. Oh, you're telling me I can't say no to this, but then when I give them an earful, and then the truth comes out, which is, yeah, it's a good plan load, and the broker doesn't even give us the address, right? Which is probably true. They don't even give the address until the load's booked. And I'm like, yeah, but how the fuck is that my problem? Y'all are the one that sent me here, regardless of who lied to who. And meanwhile, why does it pay so much? Because Snyder can't send their drivers down here. JB Hunt can send some of their drivers. It just kind of depends. But, these big Swift can't send their drivers down there. So that probably has to pay a little better. See what I mean? And then I talked to an owner operator, and he got all the way there, and his load canceled, but he's still got to do all the crazy backing because once you pull onto that lot, you can't get out. You're just there. You cannot get out of that place without doing a blindside back with not anywhere near enough room. And basically just told to deal with it. Well, yeah, I mean, if I wasn't, again, if it was Benton and a bunch of other Bentons, well, we'd have a union taking care of that for us. I'd have union representation and a grievance process. See? But when you just leave it all to Benton, now I have to be my own advocate. Oh, you're the driver? Exactly, I'm the driver. I'm telling you this is bullshit. If there was a union, the union would be telling you that it's bullshit. Now, if y'all want to pay off the corrupt union, and then they can figure out how to, let them take control of the docks and just let them run it. Let the union come down here and run the docks. Oh, but all of these fly-by-night businesses in this old, outdated warehouse, right? These fucking quasi-legal businesses, probably. Well, see, they can't, their business model, there's no room for them to operate, and there be a union down there controlling them docks. See? You can't have that. Because Americans are the biggest suckers. And you can't find a bigger sucker than the American taxpayer and the American worker. To be an American worker and taxpayer is to always take the absolute worst of every situation, and to have been mind controlled and taught to put a smile on your face. Life as breakfast cereal, Mikey likes it, or he's about to like it. Just go look at a box of Life cereal with a 10-year-old or an 8-year-old Mikey, and just think about, that's probably, that age is probably somewhere near the end of innocence. Although I don't even want to get into, let's not even think about that, but I just mean, broadly speaking, and, now the system You know, he's been promised the Moloch's machines of industrial and post-industrial society, and the gears are about to grind down upon little Mikey, right? So yeah, he better learn to like it, or he can go be an intravenous drug user on the streets of some major city. You know, he can go off to the penitentiary. He can be killed in some version of, you know, underworld gang violence. You know, whatever that looks like. Or he can, you know, get with the program and slave away for a bunch of corporations and for the government. And I'm just going to say it. Anybody paying income taxes to this federal government is out of their fucking mind. I mean, just that proves how insane people in this country are. Now, I think half of it is they just don't understand taxation, and I don't mean in a sob sit, meet your straw man sense. I just mean, I don't think your average person is able to conceptualize exactly what the fuck taxes pay for, right? But make no mistake, all of this, you know, and I'm not even saying that food stamps, they probably did need it. Look, there's a ton of fraud in food stamps, there's a ton of fraud in all of these things there's a ton of theft and fraud. It probably needs to be dealt with. I'm not saying that. Why was it? Now, did it get worse under Biden's poopy diaper? Yeah, of course it did. It was already there, folks. It's there when it's a Republican administration. It's always there, and it's allowed on some level. But why is it being cleaned up now? It's because bankers always pay themselves first. Interest on the national debt has been over $1 trillion a year in 2024 and 2023 fiscal year. Actually, 2025 and 2024, rather. I'm pretty sure fiscal year 2024 was the first time it was over 1 trillion or 1,000 billion. It's now larger than what the U.S. government spends, what it claims it spends. It actually probably outspends what it claims to spend. That's larger than the defense budget, right? In fact, the majority of just your regular old W-2 working Americans, the majority of their income tax goes to pay the interest on the national debt. It's debt service, right? So at this point, that's insane to even pay for that, right? And sort of this is the argument of, if you try to even talk about somebody about taxation, what's the first words out of their mouth? Well, how are we going to pay for the roads? Well, I don't know. How are the roads paid for now? Do you really think it's federal income taxes builds roads? I just told you that most of it goes to service the debt. So does the rest of it go to pay for the roads? Like, meanwhile, you know, I don't really want a sidekick, but hell, I'll drive you all around the country in a big rig for a week or two, and you tell me I can't see evidence that anybody's paying for the road. This shit is fucked in most areas. The roads? Hell you mean, man? But then it's always got to be run through the left-right paradigm. What's your solution? Oh, you sound like a this and you sound like a that. Listen, man, there's only my solution I've already applied. I've already problem solved all of this. It's called individuals do better. That's the solution. Now, all Benton can do is apply that solution inside of himself on behalf of himself, internally bootstrap mind, body, and spirit. I don't have any say over what the rest of these fools do. You know, I'm just going to assume, and it's never going to happen. I mean, that's called pragmatism. You know, why would people? And here's your typical American driving down the hammer lane and got their phone in their hand. And can we just face the reality? It's everybody. Every single motherfucker on the roads is on their phone. It's not 80%. It's not 90%. It's 99.99999% of everybody's on their phone driving down the road. That's what it is. So at what point, when somebody tells me be safe, because I'm about to go drive a truck, at what point do I say, well, why are you telling me to do something you don't do? They're like, what do you mean? Well, you use your phone when you're driving, so clearly you don't practice what you're telling me to do. But thanks, all right, or stay safe. Well, thanks for assuming. Meanwhile, this is of the commonly held jobs. This is the most dangerous. So the only way to stay safe would be to stop driving a truck. Even that wouldn't guarantee it, but that'd be can't work as a long haul trucker and stay safe. Those two things are mutually exclusive. Now I can perform the job in ways that remove some of the danger, but that's not quite the same as safety. Now is it? Oh, but we've all just decided to treat driving as if it's not the most dangerous thing that most people do on a daily basis. It's just everybody's just sort of agreed to pretend like it ain't extremely motherfucking dangerous statistically. And I saw a bad wreck near Abilene that had just happened. And it was on my way back, and it wasn't even weather related, believe it or not. And this was so bad that after we passed it, the people around me were so shook, I had to get on the air horn and be like, hey, why are y'all blocking the road? Let me get through here, because of course now they have to completely alter the way they're driving for 10 minutes and recover their fucking composure and then go right back to driving like mozos. It's like, hey, get the fuck out of my way. I'm not insane. Why would I change? I'm already driving properly. Why would I change how I'm driving? Because we just saw an insane wreck that just happened. I mean, it looked fucking crazy. I can't even describe what I saw. For all I know, it was a dead body, and I don't know. I don't rubberneck. I just cruise right on by it, and I just look, and whatever I see is whatever I see. Fucking carnage, man. Some dude in what looked like a cheap Jeep Cherokee, his whole fucking door was missing. That could have been an ejection. He could be off in the woods somewhere. Who the hell knows? Or she. Big old turbos. Bunch of turbos, gigantic. For probably some big old diesel generators or something somewhere. On some three each on some flatbeds. And so the system knows that if Benton even introduces a topic within a thought experiment of refusing to continue to fund what the government is doing, well, that has to be run through the left, right, Republican, Democrat, red and blue paradigm. And you can't, that's a morass. That is the swamp. You can't get through. You go into that muck and mire, there's no escape from that. If everything has to be run through the morass and the muck and the mire of the left right paradigm, the system knows, well, that'll capture them every time. You're not going to get your team of mules pulling your cart. You're not going to make it. You'll make it down in there. You ain't coming out. Because what is there for the politicians to steal if the people quit letting them have access to the money? The Americans are the ones that let these politicians have access to the purse string. And you want to talk about power to the people and, this and that. And sleeping giant. No, people are waking up and they're going to do this and that. Until the American people just say, no more money, no more money for you, nothing fucking matters. People in so-called truth community can go live. I saw TBE was live with Drew World Order on his now the channel, TBE's channel, or one of them is called Total Libtard Death. Yeah. If you get rid of all the libtards, then guess what? If people still keep giving money to the politicians and the government and the corporations, nothing's going to change it for the benefit of the people. It's not possible. Now, meanwhile, legally speaking, I'm not allowed to advocate for somebody. I can't tell you not to pay your taxes. Now, the reality is I understand that the chances of an American not paying their taxes is very, very low, right? And half of me, I hope they come get me. But all they're going to do is start harassing my employer at a certain point, or the company that I allow to employ me as a contractor. I'm not technically an employee anyway, but you know. And then when they do manage to track me down, it'll just be like, hey, man, do you want to, how about that payment plan? I'll be like, no, I'm good on all that. Right? And then if we need to, we'll render unto Caesar. Habeas corpus, bitch. Let me show you to the body. Here it is. Here's the flesh. Let the dead bury the dead. Have at it. Hell, I'm trying to get up out of here anyway. How many years does that take off of one's so-called life, having to go to live in a dungeon in a federal prison somewhere? I don't give a fuck. Oh, you're going to threaten? I'm in the soft gulag. I know I'm in a soft gulag. Now you're threatening me with hard gulag. So what? And you know, this was what I went through during the pandemic, was such a long, protracted spiritual attack and experience of fear over being controlled, right? Because I'm not a fearful person. I don't have a lot of fear, but, you know, I think pretty much everybody has certain things that they, you know, are fearful of, no matter what, to varying degrees. And, you know, one of mine has always been to be controlled in that way. And now some will say, well, you've always been controlled. Well, that's not what I mean. I'm talking about to actually end up in a camp because I wouldn't take a, you know, experimental injection and all these things, right? Or to even just, you know, be quarantined because I would, you know, what if I, at a certain point, just to refuse to take a test? I wouldn't, I was so hardcore, I'm like, I'm not ever even going to take a test. I'm not ever even going to take a test. It's like, fuck y'all. Meanwhile, I don't know a single person that passed from the illness or the jab. How is that possible? I don't know anybody who died from either one. I don't know what to think. I don't know what to make of that. But, you know, I'm I'm not interested in, you know, I enjoyed going down a lot of the rabbit holes and, you know, conspiracy theories as entertainment. I'm over it for the most part. I'm not interested in the Epstein. Remember, I was listening to Alex Jones talk all about the Epstein stuff before Epstein even got federally indicted. Alex Jones was telling me all about the Florida sweetheart deal, right? And talking all about the Epstein flight, the flight logs and all this stuff. I'm over it at this point. I mean, who? I don't even. It's not. I can't say I don't care. It's just like, and everybody likes to go, "Oh, it's all a distraction." Until the person who calls it a distraction can answer the question I'm about to pose. A distraction from what exactly? So a distraction from what, comma, exactly, question mark. Because I can answer that, but until the being can answer that question, they don't even know what are you saying? A distraction from what? Well, the supposition is it's to distract the populace from realizing how controlled and how fucked they are and how everything's being stolen, because it's the assumption that if the people understood it and could focus on it for more than 60 seconds, that of course they would do something. There is nothing to base that on. What is the basis for the idea that the American people are only not doing the right thing, right? And even that's an opinion, the so-called right thing. If they're failing to do what could be done, there's simply nothing in evidence to suggest that that's because they're distracted. That's crazy. We need a basis to substantiate that. So the system, Moloch's machine, gets a lot of mileage out of sort of putting these ideas out there and then muddying the waters, removing context, not being specific, and then letting people sort of draw their own conclusion and sort of massaging and managing the wag the dog, in other words, to sort of spin and manage these things. So if the person makes themselves think things through and to ruthlessly apply specificity and context time after time after time after time, most of what your average American who maybe even actually knows a thing or two just assumes or has been allowed to assume is provably motherfucking wrong. Provably. I can use logic and reason to debunk the vast majority of all of that nonsense. And so the major lesson I got out of the pandemic and this, 2+ years of being in a extended state of fear, and some of that certainly was correlated to, my chronic illnesses that I was going through. Hang on, the dispatch wants to know. All right, we're back. And so, and see, remember, I'm guilty for what other truckers do, because some truckers, you can't just check the truck location and say, well, he's 25 miles from the delivery, and as long as he drives straight there, he will be slightly early. See, I have to be treated like I might do what some of the other truckers do, which I might just stop at the truck stop for an hour. And believe me, some of them do that. Some of them legitimately don't give a fuck. I never do that. I've never done that.
The only way I would do that is if I had to have a nap. Because if I get drowsy and it's 10 miles to the delivery, I still pull over now. Ever since I started wearing the diabetes socks, I never get drowsy in the daytime to have to take a nap. But I used to sometimes. So now I'm going to be treated like I'm guilty for what some of the other drivers do. And that's just called being a human. Because most humans, now to me, it's obvious and it's common sense to say, well, once I observe Benton and the fact that not one time ever has he ever just randomly fucking stopped at the truck stop that's 2 miles up the road from the delivery and just hung out for 45 minutes doing God knows what. See, that's accurate information. See? Human, for some reason, the vast majority of all humans, they just simply can't conceptualize. All they know is they have a pattern and a strategy, and they just apply that to everybody. So if enough of the drivers, but then most of the ones that will stop at the truck stop, most of them, if you reach out and say, hey man, what's your approximate ETA? Now they know they're being sort of micromanaged, and probably they're not. And some of them are going to do it anyway, and just there's nothing you can do. Right. And even some of them weren't going to do it, and now they're like, oh, really? You think you're going to micromanage me? And then they will stop, hilariously. But see, in the olden days of this idea that a man's word was his bond, right? When I told the guy yesterday, well, I'm going to do because he wanted an ETA or whatever, and I'm like, look, I already told you what we're up against, but I can tell you this: I'm going to do everything in my power to get the motherfucker there on time or early because that's what I do. But I can't really necessarily tell the future here, but no, I'm always going to be treated like I'm one of the ones who might just willy-nilly stop at the fucking truck stop. Meanwhile, I already stopped and got fuel because guess what? We had to have fuel. I already went overnight with way less fuel than the company told me don't park overnight without less than 3/4 of a tank, and I've like 2 nights in a row it's been half a tank or less. Yeah, we have to stop for fuel, man. I don't know what to tell you. And then, just the idea of problem solving anyway, with respect to all these problems or perceived problems in society. Well, guess what? All perceptible problems in society live inside the individual. All of them. A version of every one of society's ills is inside of every individual somewhere, meaning every individual in society is a tiny little potential solution. But the solution, because of the seemingly individuated, this idea of individuated spirit beings, and in fact, Nancy Pelosi's MS-13 Spark of Divinity, this little light of mine, I'm going to let it shine, which is a mockery, of course, but again, stepping outside of the potential validity of the philosophy of solipsism, it is possible that every human at least starts out with that spark of divinity, and which presumes that it's still there. But in many cases, so if that's the case, perhaps it's buried so deep that for the most part people aren't in contact or in tune with it. But so in the framework of individuated beings, well, what is that? What is divinity? Divinity is to be one with an indivisible force that exists beyond time, space, location, place. And in fact, only within waking dream, surrealistic, unreality, deja vu all over again
Is it even possible to seemingly experience a realm based upon time, space, location, place? These four things, among many other things, can never be entirely real. Does the individual have the ability to develop their consciousness and their logical mind to the point to be able to cope with that knowledge? Because many people come to those realizations and they go fucking insane. So, surprise, surprise, Benton took it to the streets first, put himself out there. First, the warrior places himself beyond the possibility of defeat. And I went perhaps as close to madness as possible without crossing over into it, without ever having to be medicated 5150. Nothing ever happened. I'm still just a regular old, other than bad credit, I'm above reproach on paper. And even my bad credit, by today's standard, is probably not even that bad. I mean, just my income alone would probably give me at least potentially a decent credit score. If I gave a fuck about having a decent credit score, and I don't, why would I? For what? To rent an apartment? No, I'm good. Credit cards, I mean, I wouldn't mind charging up a bunch of credit, but yeah, the credit card, they figured out not to give me, here's your $500 balance or whatever. Who cares? If I was really determined, I guess I could get 10 of those. 5Gs. Fuck, it's easier for me to just go make 5Gs. Like, for real. It's easier to just go make $5,000. I'm doing that anyway. Well, why am I going to scheme and go to a bunch of trouble? I don't even really have a mailing address. I mean, I kind of do, but it's not convenient to physically get there. I'm going to have my mama FedExing me overnight fucking FedEx envelopes with a $500 credit limit. It's just easier to go make $500. Why? Because I charged up as much consumer credit as they would give me in the mid-90s, paid not a dime, and guess what? After 7 years, it was like it never happened. I never did anything. I didn't file bankruptcy. I didn't do anything. It disappeared like it never happened. Now, again, like I said, the credit card companies, somehow, some way, they understand, well, look, this is not the guy to just throw a bunch of credit at. But, I can still, get a very high interest car loan, of course, assuming I have provable income, right? No problem. I mean, clearly credit, debt. How the hell is credit and debt two different words that mean the same thing? Just that, if just that alone doesn't show you the fucking game, I don't know what to tell you. Is this really a game that you would want to play? Right? And people say, oh, well, what choice is there? I don't know. If everybody stops paying their taxes, let's see what happens. If you got to keep 100% of your wages, might not be quite as attractive to go get a 23% car loan, right? And I got a phone call one time because I was playing a lot of internet poker, and I figured out on U.S. Bank with their debit card, they would let me overdraft up to $500, and that eventually got turned over to collections. And I laughed at the guy on the phone. I said, "Listen, man," I said, "I'm never paying that. I will never pay that." And they have their whole debt collector tax. I said, "Listen, man, that's U.S. Bank's fault. U.S. Bank let me overdraft $500 on the motherfucking poker site. They can go fuck themselves." And he tried to laugh it off like I was crazy. I said, "Laugh at me all you want, buddy. You know I'm right." And meanwhile, they're going to collect enough NSF charges to make up for it anyway. So leave me the fuck alone. I'm not paying this out of principle. I said, I know I can negotiate this down to $150, and I've got $150. Fuck you. I'm not giving it to you. How about that? How about them apples? I know how the game's played. I've got enough money I've got fuck you money with a $500 debt, partner. And furthermore, how's it worth your time to call me on the phone, and if I'm enough of a chump, you might be able to get the full 500 out of me. Or if I'm really willing to waste a bunch of my time negotiating, we both know I can just send you a fucking money order or whatever, a certified letter with $150 in it. I can just give you $150 so you'll leave me alone. Right? That's what you're doing for a living. So you're going to call me up and laugh at me because you think it's insane that U.S. Bank on purpose allowed me to overdraft so they could collect fees. And eventually your employer thought that that was a worthwhile debt to purchase. Well, it probably is. Not in this case, because I know the fucking game and I'm never paying this money. So bye. Never heard, never got another call. Haven't heard anything about it. Because that's righteous. What can they say? Oh, we called a righteous man, or we called a man to collect a debt, and he spoke to us righteously. He spoke to us in the spirit of righteousness. That's the spirit of what I am. That's law. That's justice. That's authority, because there's nothing that can be done. He knows there's nothing that can be done. Nothing to do at that point. Now, if I was involved in still using credit and living in a way where I had to have a certain credit score, it'd be a very different game. Then I would have signed up to play a very different game, wouldn't I? Then the fear tactics probably would work. Then they'd have a way better chance of getting the full 500. No, fuck them. And so his company probably paid $40, and they're going to try to collect 150, and then they're going to break him off half of that probably. For it to even be worth his time to get me on the motherfucking phone. No, fuck you. Fuck you. And until America individually says, hey, you know what? Fuck you. Hey, foreigner trying to cut in line at the fuel pumps in a big rig, fuck you. And watch them laugh. I don't know what you're laughing about. You're the one who ain't shit to the level of had to come over here. Because if you were worth a damn, you'd still be in. They would have kept you wherever you're from. They got to know you, and you were so valuable to society that they let you come over here. Did the best and the brightest? Did the best and the brightest and the most handsome and the most virile and athletic men of your male classmates, did they all come to America to drive trucks? Meanwhile, I'm from here. Things get bad in my country, and I just figure it the fuck out. I don't go to some other country and throw my weight around, right? And play everybody for a fool just because the American male is so gelded that they've let women take over. And look, collectively, the males in this, and I'm not going to call them men. There is no collective man as a status in America. That's dead. It's males. Males have allowed they've allowed it. But see, that's collective. Individually, nobody can make me sign off on that individually. That can't happen. That's universal law, right? Because I can't ever be made to bow down to something lesser than myself without treating my blessing as if it were a curse, that's the idea of blasphemy in the Holy Spirit. In this realm, in some ways, the now it's here, now it's gone of the present moment, again, waking dream, surrealistic, unreality, deja vu all over again. It's a never-ending series of offers. Would you like to opt into treating your blessing as if it were a curse? Well, American males have brought a curse upon themselves through their own behavior. I stand apart from that. I'm not involved in that. I could go bragging about all the things I've done. Ultimately, I've achieved the status of manhood through rites of passage and proving myself and all of these things. And I've never lost that status. Right? So what are you going to tell me? So when I go in the super center, it's almost like I'm being mobbed at times because the women know there's no men effectively. And the ones that there are probably so psychologically controlled and tricked, or they were born into bloodlines and they've been incentivized to serve evil in all of this and rewarded. So you got almost no free agents out here just willy nilly bebopping around at the motherfucking supercenter buying their groceries at 6 a.m. Now, the foreigner, he's in there, he's a man, but you know, she already doesn't really have the option of a significant other who drives a truck. Damn sure can't have one who doesn't even speak the fucking language and is a different race and doesn't drive and drives a truck, right? You know, if for some insane reason, and she can't put his face on her social media, even if she likes him, right? Oh, there's Benton. Not only can we immediately tell he's a man, he's got a face. That face would look great on my social media. And if you think a woman doesn't run and look, men do it. Well, males do it too, but I'm only talking about women. If you think they aren't experts in exactly what their social media looks like, how it's perceived, and when they're at the store, when they're at their job, everything they're looking at, they know what it would look like if they were able to put it on their social media. It's all about glorifying them within their own social media. I'm not going to have anything to do with that. In fact, I have no control over if a woman's on social media. I only control the part where if for some insane reason I'm getting married for the third time, she's not going to be on social media. Now, hopefully she's already figured out, hey, I might just get me a Benton if I just get off social media entirely, because being on social media for 10 years, they've never had a Benton. You know, Chad showed up and rearranged her guts hundreds of times. You think you're going to have Chad Light Benton? You have Chad Light on your social media? Well, no, because even if for some insane reason Benton was willing to perhaps entertain a third marriage, there ain't going to be no social media involved in my third marriage. There really wasn't any involved in the second one, and definitely not the first one, mostly because it didn't quite exist yet. And I promise you, my first wife, if I'd have told her, like, hey, you're just not doing social media, she wouldn't have liked it, but she would have done as I asked. And there was times when I wanted to do things, and I chose to go along with her. What she, you know, it was a give and take. It's not Benton as fucking dictator, but I've got to have the veto or I'm not a man. If the man ain't got the veto, she's the boss. Somebody's always in charge. If the man doesn't have the veto and the final say, that means she has the veto and the final say, and he's not a man because his boss is a woman. And he can't be a man and simultaneously have a boss that's a woman. Now, can I be in an employment situation and agree to have a supervisor that's a female? Well, perhaps. Meanwhile, I saw a short from Gomer Pyle where he was in the military and some female captain was trying to order him about, and he couldn't even halfway follow her orders because he's like, you know, in his all shucks way, well, ma'am, you know, my mom told me never, if the lady's around, don't ever be the, you know, if she's standing, you don't sit down, basically. Like you wait for her to sit down. It's all of these, you know, formalized structures in society, right? Anyway, I'm almost there. Got to go. Bye.